So what if the reason you just cannot seem to break that one bad habit isn't, because you aren't trying hard enough?
Yeah.
What if it's because you are fighting it with completely the wrong operating system?
Yeah, that is, it really gets to the absolute core of human frustration, doesn't it?
Oh,
I
totally.
mean, that endless cycle of vowing to change, trying your absolute hardest, building up all these strict boundaries, and then bam.
Right.
You inexplicably find yourself opening up the exact same, like, grudge folder from 1998 that you swore you had permanently deleted.
It's one you put in the recycling bin and emptied.
Exactly. We are just constantly caught between who we want to be and who we actually are when we're, tired or stressed or just triggered by something small.
Well, and we're getting into the exact mechanics of that struggle today. So welcome back to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we are exploring this really brilliant message from Reverend Dr. Angela B. Martin. She delivered this at the English Christian Church of Querétaro, Mexico.
Right. Yeah.
The sermon is titled, No Condemnation, No Compromise. And it's part of this broader series she's doing called From Captivity to Conquerors.
Which is such a great title.
It really is. And we are diving into her analysis of the opening of Romans chapter 8 today. But I want to be clear about our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah, it's strictly practical.
Exactly. We aren't just, hovering at 30,000 feet in ancient theological concepts here. We are really trying to extract the tangible daily implications this message has for you.
For your habits, your mindset.
Right. And specifically, the way you talk to yourself when you fail.
Yeah, and to fully grasp the weight of this, we really have to look at the cliffhanger that set the stage from the previous material.
Oh, right, because we're picking up right in the middle of a thought.
We are. So the previous material in this series painted this picture of the Apostle Paul as a man in chains.
Which is wild, right? Because Paul was, arguably one of the most disciplined, strict rule keepers who ever lived.
Oh, absolutely. He knew the law inside and out. But despite all that incredible discipline, he actually describes himself as being strapped to this body of death.
Just dragging it around.
Literally dragging this heavy, decaying corpse of his own failures everywhere he goes.
Wow.
And he reaches a breaking point, right? He asks this agonizing, incredibly honest question. Who will free me from this life that is dominated by sin and death?
And the answer to his captivity, which is so crucial here, it wasn't a new 5-step self-help plan.
Nope.
And it wasn't a command to just, try a little bit harder next time. The answer was a name. It was Jesus Christ.
The liberator.
Right. But that theoretical unchaining brings up a massive follow-up question for us today.
Right, because once the liberator actually unlocks those chains, what does he say about you?
Exactly. When you come stumbling back in, week after week, hitting that same 5 a.m. snooze button for the 100th time.
Or losing your temper with your kids.
Right. Or just indulging in that same toxic thought pattern. What is your actual legal status at that point?
Well, we're moving from this abstract idea of freedom to the declared legal reality of you, the listener. And the sermon uses a very vivid courtroom scene to illustrate this.
Okay, let's unpack this scene because I really want you to feel the tension here. So picture yourself as the defendant.
You're standing right there at the defense desk.
And the prosecution isn't just relying on hearsay. They have the receipts.
Oh, they have the timestamp screenshots?
Right. The screenshots of that conversation you thought was totally private. They have the video evidence of that thing you did back in 2019 that you were absolutely sure nobody saw.
You know you did it.
You did it. And you were just praising yourself, right? Because you know exactly how this justice system works.
You're just waiting for the gavel to drop.
Waiting for the judge to hand down that guilty verdict.
But then comes the ultimate plot twist.
I love this part.
The judge who is looking down at you from the bench is somehow also your defense lawyer. He is your advocate. He is the one who already stepped down, walked over to the clerk, and paid your astronomical fine entirely out of his own pocket.
So the debt is paid.
Fully paid. So when he opens his mouth to deliver the verdict, he doesn't say guilty. He says, no condemnation, case dismissed.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
If the case is entirely dismissed, right, and the fine was paid completely out of the judge's pocket,
Yeah.
why do so many of us still feel like we are constantly on trial?
That is the tragedy of this.
Right, because I know people who had this exact verdict handed to them decades ago, but they just walk around carrying this immense, crushing guilt all the time.
They live like they are one bad Tuesday away from being thrown in maximum security.
Yes, exactly. Why is that?
Well, Reverend Martin points out this exact tragedy. There are people who received the salvation 10, 20, 30 years ago, but mentally, they just never left the courtroom.
You're just standing there.
Still standing at the defense desk, bracing for a gavel that already came down in their favor.
Just constantly relitigating sins that God already dismissed.
Exactly. Begging for a pardon they already hold in their hands. And to drive this home practically, the sermon uses this brilliant local analogy.
Oh, right. Tailored for the congregation there in Querétaro.
Right. She compares it to the grueling process of getting a permanent residency card in Mexico.
Oh, man, the immigration system. Anyone who has gone through the process of getting residency in a foreign country knows the sheer physiological anxiety of that experience.
Oh, it's awful. You fight for that card. You deal with the endless paperwork, the confusing appointments.
Tracking down apostilles.
Standing in line for hours at the INM. And you were just nervously rehearsing your Spanish in the car before you walk into the building, right?
Oh, totally terrified that using the wrong verb tense might get your whole application thrown out.
Because you are acutely aware that you are a guest.
Right. Your status can be revoked if you step out of line. Such an exhausting way to live.
But then, you finally get the card.
The physical piece of plastic.
Yeah, the one that says Residente Permanente. You don't have to live like a tourist anymore.
You don't have to flinch every time you see a government official.
Or keep one eye on the door. You don't have to keep a bag packed in the hallway just in case today is the day they decide to deport you. You belong there.
But spiritually.
Spiritually, that is exactly how so many people operate. They have their permanent residency in the kingdom of God, bought and paid for, but they live like spiritual tourists.
Just flinching and bracing.
Packing a bag by the door, just constantly evaluating their own behavior to see if God is finally going to, change his mind and deport them back to condemnation.
Which he isn't going to do.
Right. The key takeaway for you, the listener, is that this declaration of no condemnation is your spiritual green card. The judge isn't going to change his mind about you.
So you can literally step down off the witness stand.
Pack your bag, hang up your coat, sit down in the good chair. You are home.
Okay. So let's say I've unpacked my bag.
Mm-hmm.
I am sitting in the good chair. I have my spiritual permanent residency.
Mm-hmm.
Why is my brain still defaulting to absolute rage when I get cut off in traffic?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. Because if my legal status is cleared, why is my daily life still such an absolute struggle?
Well, that requires us to look at the difference between our legal status and our daily operating system.
Okay.
Because we naturally try to fix this struggle by building fences, right? We create all these sincere, elaborate rules around our behavior to just keep ourselves in check.
Which we call the law.
Exactly. And the sermon gives us this incredible image for the law. It compares it to a smoke detector.
I really love this image. Because if you think about the smoke detector on your kitchen ceiling, when you burn dinner and the kitchen catches fire, that little device does exactly what it was engineered to do.
It screams at a deafening pitch.
Fire, danger, sin.
Right.
It's incredibly annoying, but it is telling the absolute truth.
It diagnoses the problem flawlessly. But consider its critical limitation. Has a smoke detector ever, in the history of the world, put out a fire? Has it ever climbed down off the ceiling, grabbed a fire extinguisher, or dialed emergency services?
No, it just makes noise.
Right. The law was never the Firetruck. It can scream at you all day and night about your failures, but it cannot put out a single flame in your life. It cannot save you.
So God did what the smoke detector couldn't do.
He sent his own son. Jesus is the Firetruck. Jesus is the key turning in the padlock, clicking it open.
Okay, so the padlock is open, the fire is out. But we are still left with the friction of our own minds, right?
Yeah.
How do we actually function now?
Yeah, and this is where the sermon introduces this fantastic smartphone operating system analogy. It really perfectly explains that internal conflict between our flesh, our sinful nature, and the spirit.
Which is so relatable because we all stare at our phones all day.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is how this analogy captures the sheer inevitability of our failures when we rely on our own strength.
Okay, break that down for me.
So think of the flesh as a deeply corrupted operating system on your smartphone. The virus is fully integrated into the code. So you are trying your absolute best to live a good life. You literally tap the Patience app on your screen, but because the OS itself is corrupted, the system automatically redirects and opens the Petty app instead.
Oh, man. Or you deliberately reach for the Forgiveness app, and the system overrides your input and opens that 1998 grudge folder we talk about.
Exactly.
Wait, let's make this highly practical for a second. If my flesh is literal malware, and the spirit installs a brand new operating system, How do I actually force close the Flesh app in real time?
Yeah, in the heat of the moment.
Right. If I'm furious at a coworker who just threw me under the bus in a meeting, what is the literal mechanism of bringing the spirit to the foreground?
Mm.
Because just stating that I have a new OS doesn't automatically stop me from sending a passive-aggressive email.
No, it doesn't. And the mechanism is conscious yielding, which honestly takes immense bandwidth.
It takes so much energy.
It really does. When you leave the old apps, the Flesh running in the background, your phone runs hot. The system slows down to a crawl, and your battery drains completely dry.
Because you're fighting a virus with sheer willpower.
Exactly. Living in the flesh is exhausting. Bringing the spirit to the foreground means stopping in the moment of that anger, recognizing that the malware is trying to open the retaliation app, and actively choosing not to type.
It's acknowledging I have a new system installed that offers life and peace, and I'm choosing to let it run this interaction.
Because you cannot negotiate with the malware. You can't sit down and try to reason with the computer virus.
No, you can't hope it will eventually just update into something helpful.
Right. Its one and only job is to crack new system.
Which brings up a massive potential loophole. Because I can guarantee someone listening right now is thinking, okay, if I can't fix the malware, and my permanent residency cannot be revoked, and the judge has completely paid my fine.
Right. Why shouldn't I just coast?
Exactly. If the debt is permanently settled, what is stopping me from just swiping the Jesus card at the Register of Life and living exactly however I please?
Well, that is the ultimate distortion of grace.
It really is.
It fundamentally misunderstands the nature of what has actually happened to you. And Reverend Martin addresses this head on. She says, no condemnation does not mean no consequences.
And it certainly doesn't mean no change.
Exactly. The very same text that declares no condemnation turns right around and warns that if you keep letting the flesh run your device, you will destroy yourself.
Grace is a rescue operation. It's not a hall pass to go play in traffic.
Yes. But the sermon highlights a crucial nuance here, where I think a lot of religious teaching actually gets it backwards.
Okay.
No compromise does not mean you need to go back to building taller fences.
Oh, wow. Because if you do that, you are just chaining yourself right back to the smoke detector.
Right. You are just marching yourself back into the courtroom to try and earn a verdict that the judge already handed you for free.
So no compromise isn't about trying harder to keep the rules.
No, it is about recognizing the severe danger of your current living situation. And she uses this analogy of a bad roommate, which perfectly illustrates how we usually handle our bad habits.
Oh, we totally make peace treaties with the things that are actively trying to kill us.
All the time.
Think about the misery of this arrangement. For years, the flesh was your roommate, and you just negotiated with it.
You'd say, okay, I'll stop drinking, but you have to let me keep my crushing anxiety.
Or, I'll be super patient with my kids, but I'm going to be ruthlessly judgmental of my coworkers.
Exactly. We let sin keep a room in our house, we charge it a little rent to stay out of sight, and we have the absolute nerve to call that peace.
We think we are managing our lives, but we are literally just sleeping down the hall from an assassin.
That's exactly what it is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, no compromise simply means that the treaty is over.
The treaty is torn up.
Yes. Not because a new set of rules on a piece of paper says so, but because a new landlord has moved into the property.
Oh, I love that.
The spirit that now lives in you refuses to share the house with the things that enslave you.
So the new landlord is looking at your bad habits, your toxic traits, your hidden resentments, and he is flat out refusing to renew their lease.
Right. Grace didn't come to help you manage your captivity or make your jail cell more comfortable. Grace came to serve an eviction notice.
You no longer have to be a roommate to your own killer.
No, you don't.
That perspective completely changes how you view your own bad habits. But, I mean, it sounds incredibly daunting.
It does.
Evicting a terrible roommate who has been entrenched in your house for decades. Where do you, the listener, get the actual power to break this lease and completely change your daily operating system?
Well, this is where we reach the absolute climax of this message. The source of the power isn't just a change in your legal status. It is a change in your physical residence.
Okay, explain that.
The liberator didn't just walk up to the courtroom, pay your fine, wave goodbye from the doorway, and leave you to figure out the rest of your life on your own.
Right.
He walked into your house, he set down his bags, and he moved in. And the sheer magnitude of this truth is staggering. The sermon reminds us of exactly who has taken up residence. It is the spirit that hovered over the dark, formless waters at the very beginning of creation.
The actual spirit of creation.
Yes, it is the spirit that swept down into a dry, dusty valley full of dead bones and made them rattle, shake, and rise up into a living army.
That's incredible.
And most crucially, it is the exact same spirit that walked into a cold, sealed tomb on a Sunday morning, looked at a man who had been dead for 3 days, and told him to get up.
The spirit that rolled away the stone.
Exactly, the spirit that turned a Friday execution into a Sunday resurrection.
Wow. And that exact same spirit has a forwarding address.
Yes, he does.
And that address is me. That is just staggering. It creates this incredible duality for the listener.
It really does.
Because the beginning of Romans 8, it got you out of the courtroom, right? Pardoned you from the outside. But this realization, Romans 8.11 puts resurrection power on the inside of your house.
You are powered from the inside.
Exactly. We refuse to compromise with the flesh, not to earn the pardon, because the pardon is already paid. We refuse to compromise because the one who raised Jesus from the dead is living on the inside of us right now. And he just refuses to leave us the way he found us.
But this raises a really important question, one that grounds this entire soaring theology right back into our messy reality.
Right, because we still live in the real world.
Exactly. If we have this incredible resurrection power living inside us, right, if we have the new landlord and the permanent residency and the completely dismissed case, why do we still ache?
Oof.
Why does the alarm go off on Monday morning and we still feel the heavy weight of that old OS trying to boot up?
Because the struggle doesn't just evaporate, unfortunately.
Right.
We still get tired. We still get frustrated. We still fail.
We do. And Reverend Martin actually previews where the text goes next to answer this, setting up the upcoming theme of the groaning and the glory.
Okay.
The simple, profound truth is this: being free and being finished are not the same thing.
Wow. Being free and being finished are not the same thing.
Right. You can be entirely free from condemnation, you can be a conqueror, and you can still feel the groan of living in a broken world.
So aching on a Monday morning is not a sign that your faith is broken.
No. And it's not a sign that your permanent residency has been revoked. It just means the renovation of your house isn't finished yet.
That is so freeing. So let's just recap the mission for your daily life based on everything we've unpacked today.
Sounds good.
First, you have to consciously stop standing at the defense desk. The gavel already fell in your favor. Stop bracing for a condemnation that is never, ever coming.
Right. And second, tear up the peace treaties you have made with your malware. Stop charging rent to the habits that are actively trying to crash your life.
Exactly. And finally, you have to acknowledge the immense power of the new landlord. Yield to the new operating system. Recognize when the flesh is trying to open the wrong app, and just consciously choose to let the spirit run the device.
Let the new OS run.
Yeah. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over as you go about your day.
Okay.
Think about your own life, like that house we talked about, the one where the new landlord has moved in. If the spirit that raised Jesus from the dead has permanently moved into your life, set down his bags and unpacked, what is the one room in your daily life you are still nervously trying to keep padlocked shut, hoping he won't ask for the key?